So last week we kicked off this series by redefining prosperity. And we looked at the Latin roots of the word, which translates to according to hope, or to go forward hopefully. And when we look at it from this approach, we see that prosperity isn't so much about the condition of having money. Instead, it is a way of being or living with a hopeful attitude, right? With an idea or an attitude of expectancy, walking in the world from an abundant mindset, knowing that all our needs and desires will be met. So again, prosperity isn't something that you acquire. It's a lifestyle. And it's a particular way of thinking and living that pulls us forward with a hopeful expectancy. So today we're going to dive more into the concept of reciprocity and how to forge a right relationship with money and all the good and abundance in our lives. And this occurs when we experience a balance between giving and receiving. So reciprocity in the context of giving and receiving, it's like this cosmic dance of energy, of flow. And when you give, you set in motion this flow of positive energy, which then will be returned to you. As it is said, give and it shall be given unto you, ask and you shall receive. And this reciprocity isn't just, again, about material things or money. It's about our relationships. It's about our energy. It's about the connections that we have with each other and the world. Because what we know, this golden rule reminds us that what we do unto others will be done unto us, for we are one. But here's the crucial twist. It's not like a one-on-one transaction, right? It's not like, okay, I give you $1 today so that tomorrow you will give me $1 back. It's an idea of opening up to this flow and allowing energy and spirit and life to show up in various forms of good as we extend ourselves, our energy, and give, and we open to receive. So it could be a smile from a stranger when you least expected it, or it could be a helping hand in your time of need. Building the right relationship with this flow of good in our life is like nurturing a friendship. So if you want to have a deep and connected relationship with money, for example, what if you were to treat it how you would nurture nurture a deep relationship with a friend? You have to invest some time and effort to build trust in a relationship. Same with money. And it's not about hoarding or treating money as an enemy. It's about understanding its role in your life. Being intentional. Being intentional with your finances, with the flow of money coming in and out. Be intentional with your energy, the flow of your energy coming in and out. Pay attention. Notice where it flows and where it goes. Be mindful. So there's various factors that we have that influence our relationship with prosperity. Just like our relationship with anything. If you think back to your childhood, what are some of the earliest memories you have regarding money? Can you think of a memory or a time where you first realized what this thing called money was? And what was the energy around money in your family? Did you hear things like, money doesn't grow on trees? Or we have to save for a rainy day? Or maybe money's the root of all evil? Or don't talk about that, right? It's rude to talk about money. Don't ask someone how much they make. So all of these ideas, these phrases, these things that we hear growing up and kind of in our collective society and consciousness around what we should or shouldn't do or think about money and prosperity in our life, all of these things can influence our own understanding and perception of wealth and prosperity and money and our relationship with giving, with receiving, with spending. But the first step is to become aware of these ideas so that we can begin to deconstruct those things that no longer serve us. So we can show up today and choose to have a more conscious and intentional relationship with prosperity. To choose to have a more intentional relationship with what we desire to experience as the good of all of life flowing and being open to receive that. So first, we have to notice kind of the programming we have around it and notice what are our current beliefs about our relationship with giving and receiving, and especially around flow and money and energy. And then we get to decide how we would like to be in relationship with money, right? So if you were to describe your relationship with money right now, maybe a word would come to mind like, frustrating or difficult or hard, or maybe it's exciting or feels good, right? So think about where you are in your relationship with money right now. And then think about what you desire your relationship to be. Because what we know and what we teach here is that we are always at choice. And in each moment, we can begin again. We can let go of the past and we can choose today from this fertile ground to plant a new seed, which will then blossom and bloom and grow into that which we say it is today. So we can look at this idea of money, but similarly, think about the messages you heard growing up about giving and receiving. Were you told either blatantly with words or through observation and actions that it's better to give than receive? Maybe you were taught sharing is caring. Maybe you were rewarded or praised for giving, either money or helping or whatever it may be, giving of your time, your talent, your energy, and then decided at that young age that, ooh, that feels good, right? I'm going to give more because that's how I feel loved. But that too can lead to an imbalance. So when we start to look at and notice what are the underlying stories behind our relationship between giving and receiving, we can see how that is outpictured in our experience today. We talked last week in the book study that we're doing on living a prosperous life about how many of us are recovering overgivers, right? And, you know, it seems like in general that society kind of encourages that it's good to give, it's good to give. But giving and receiving are two sides of the same coin. And if there's no one to receive or open to receive, then we can form an imbalance by always giving. And when we overgive from a place that is not in integrity or wholeness, if we're giving to get, if we're giving to feel that love, even though it's subtle, it's still transactional. It's like, I'm going to do this because I'm going to get this. And what we are wanting to do today is to rise above a transactional relationship with good, with prosperity, with money, with energy, with time. So to rise above a transactional relationship, we have to first become aware of even those subtle places that we are perhaps giving to get. That we are giving or doing something with some sort of expectation that if it's then not met, we might feel resentful. Right? That's not the same as giving from a place of wholeness, of giving from what we may say the overflow, from giving and then allowing the gift to just be without having any strings attached or control over what or how the gift may be used. So there's ways that we can really notice and be really drill into an opportunity to move from transaction to transformation in our relationship of giving and receiving. And then, like I said, the flip side of that is if you do tend to perhaps be an overgiver, what would it look like to build your muscle in receiving? I like to think of it as this infinity sign, right? The figure 8. So this flow of giving and receiving. And we can begin to choose consciously how we are in relationship with giving and receiving. So, for example, what would it be like to think of money as a resource or a means to an end instead of the end itself, right? This question of like, well, what's the money for? So if you were to, win the lottery tomorrow, do you have an idea of what you're going to do with that money? What's the money for? Is it just because you want to say, I want the money, stack the dollar bills, y'all? Right? That is looking at money itself as the thing. But we want to transform our relationship to see money as just another resource, as just another flow to allow us to experience what we desire to experience in the world and what we desire to see for all. Knowing that we are not prospering at the expense of anyone else, but instead we are all prospering together when there is this balance and flow of giving and receiving. So when you shift from seeing money as the goal to seeing it as the means or the resource to provide the things and experience that you need and desire in your life, then you will begin to find that natural balance between giving and receiving. And it becomes more intuitive, right? As money and good comes in, there is a natural desire to share it. Because how do we really know that we have a thing until we give it in relationship with the flow of it? So that's how we began to create this balance, by being conscious and intentional about giving and receiving, the reciprocal nature of the universe. Notice the flow that comes in and notice the flow that goes out. And again, not just about money, but about your energy, your love, your time, your talent. Are you giving to get? And if so, just becoming aware of that can begin to open and create that space for transformation. Because when we give from a place of lack or trying to fill a void or to prove our good or our worthiness, this way of giving often leads to resentment and disappointment, to shame, and to just feeling empty or lost. And what we know is that we are whole, perfect, and complete, that we don't need anything outside of ourselves to prove our worthiness or our wholeness. And instead, we are a channel, a vessel for spirit to move, to flow through. So to activate this feeling of flow, of aliveness, if you're feeling kind of stuck, a way to activate this is to notice and appreciate what you do have. And to get into right relationship with that through appreciation and through giving. And open the flow in your life by giving something that you do have an experience of an abundance of. Maybe it's an abundance of love, abundance of kindness, an abundance of generosity experienced as time, energy, knowledge, wisdom, money, abundance. Start by noticing that area in your life in which you experience great abundance. We all have something. We can all look deeper and just ask, right? Ask your higher self to reveal to you, to be seen, to open your eyes to that which you have an abundance of. And then appreciate it and get in the flow of giving. And as we begin to give, and you notice I keep doing this gesture, right? Because as we give and we let go of something into this field, this energetic field of reciprocity, our hand becomes open. And what we know is that the universe abhors a vacuum, so that it must be filled. So as we give, we are then rightly positioned to receive. But we have to find the balance. Because if we're used to just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving until we have nothing else, and then we retreat because we were so depleted, we're not in that open place to receive. So we give and we remain open to receive. And we can start practicing this. Notice when someone gives you a compliment, do you receive it? Or do you, no, this old thing, right? We always have this story like, oh, well, I know I do. I'm like, oh, I got it at the thrift store, which, it could be dismissive or you could claim it because I kind of think that's cool when I find good treasures at the thrift store, right? So just notice your response to things such as compliments or gifts, not just physical gifts, but any way that someone is wanting to offer help, holding a door open for you. These are subtle ways. So, I want you to notice and start to pay attention not only to those things that we've heard growing up, those stories we've been told about money, about giving and receiving, but really start to take note in your life of how open you are to give or receive. You may even want to start a little journal or note on your phone and just kind of, when something happens, like, oh, I noticed I just shut that down, and just make a note about it, right? And again, it's not about judging ourselves or shame. It's about awareness. Because the first step for any sort of transformation is we have to be aware of what is and then consciously choose how we want to shift and what we want to open to. So pay attention, notice. Begin to recognize the beauty and the abundance all around us. Nature. This time of year, y'all, right? I love fall. I had the opportunity yesterday. I took Cadence, my daughter, to go hiking. We went to Raven's Run, and it's just gorgeous. The leaves are starting to fall, and the wind rustling in the trees. And I just consciously took several moments on that hike to pause and just reflect on the abundant nature of the universe, and to remember that same abundant nature lives within me, because I am an expression of the one, just like that tree. And so are we all an expression of the one. So in this dance of life, we can embrace the ebb and the flow of giving and receiving. Just like last week, we talked about the tides coming in and out. So does the energy of life. Trust that the universe has a way of balancing things in its own time and manner. Not our own time, but in its own time and manner. So we may think that we may, say, well, I want this now, and we're so fixed on what we want to manifest that the universe is doing all this beauty around us, and if we're not open to see it, we may just keep looking at saying, yes, but this, I've been praying for this, my right and perfect partner, and they're not here, right? And we're not seeing all of this other things around us that may open us to the opportunity to then get in the flow of giving and receiving so that we can be ready to receive that right and perfect partner, right? Just notice where you may be narrowing your focus a little too specifically and not having the bigger vision of what God, Spirit, life is pouring through you. Trust that the universe has a way of balancing things in its own time and manner. So this week, your invitation is to navigate this path of reciprocity, of right relationship in the area of prosperity, which we are saying is all areas of our lives, right? In our relationships, in our finances, in our energy. So may your heart remain open and your spirit generous and your lives enriched with the joy of giving and receiving. Having the opportunity to notice the abundance that surrounds us, the abundance in your own life, and then putting your money where the mouth is. Is that right? Yeah. Mouth where your money is. Money where your mouth is. What you say you love and enjoy and value, begin to invest your time and energy into that thing that supports this life-giving energy and that supports all that you desire for yourself and for the world at large. As we say, we are here to create a world that works for everyone. So how can you invest your time, your energy, your talent, your treasure into that which supports this new world? And as it is said in A Course in Miracles, to have, give all to all. So let us open up to that flow this week as we move into prayer. So again, taking that deep breath. And first just notice how there's an abundance of air to breathe. Thank you, God. Thank you, trees. Thank you, Mother Nature, for the abundance of oxygen that sustains our very life. But again, there's that balance. We don't just keep inhaling and consuming and taking in all the abundance, all the oxygen. We must exhale and notice that flow. Breathing in, breathing out. Recognizing the abundant nature of the universe. This one life that is love, that is wholeness, that is joy. This bounty that is all around, knowing that this is the true essence of the universe. And therefore, knowing that we are one, that there is only one thing happening right here, right now, always showing up in the multitudes of ways through expression, that there's only one, that I know that this must be the truth for me. Spirit, God, life is always pouring its good down in, as, and through its creations, which is me and you. Let us not forget. As the tree has everything it needs to sustain itself by being deeply rooted, and its branches reaching out to receive the gift and the bounty of sunlight, we too have been created with all that we need to thrive. So in this moment, I just allow any old ideas about money, about flow, about giving and receiving, any old ideas that no longer serve this highest good for myself, for my community, for my beloveds here. I allow these ideas of lack and limitation to fall back to the nothingness from which they came. And I step firmly forward, grounded in the truth of the abundant nature of the universe, open to give and to receive. How good it is to be in this flow, to let go and to allow, to be open to receive, and to experience the great harmony of life. So I am just so grateful for the bounty and the abundance and the beauty and the opulence and the good that surrounds all of us in this beautiful planet and in this beautiful body temple. So grateful to open to the flow now of right relationship with giving and receiving. So grateful to know that right here, right now, each and every one of us is living a prosperous life, defined the way that we define prosperous. It is happening now, and for that I am grateful. And I release this word into the action of the law that always says yes, 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 and it is done. And so it is. So it is, yes.